takes to go to war? Do you know how it feels to be a mother with a young son who is marching down the road, lest we forget the faces of our past, lest we forget the memories of their hearts, lest we forget their struggle and their pain, lest we forget the life that we have gained. Do you ever think about the life you're living? All the people who have died to give us life. Do you ever think to stop yourself complaining and take the time to take a look and realize, lest we forget the faces of our past, lest we forget the memories of their hearts, lest we forget their struggle and their pain, lest we forget the life that we have gained. I would like to take the time to thank the people who have gone before and given us our lives. It is up to us right now to make the best of what we have, for it has come at a great price, lest we forget the faces of our past, lest we forget the memories of their hearts, lest we forget their struggle and their pain, lest we forget the life that we have gained. Thank you very much. I'd like to introduce Dawn Kelly. Dawn Kelly, who is running.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. And please put your hands together again for Kelly Newton-Reddrag. I know it appears that I seem to have taken over a little bit, but for those of you that don't know, my name's David Beecham and I look after this RSL. I would personally like to thank the Great Australia Party for using this venue and introducing you people to this RSL. So thank you very much, the Great Australia Party. Today, or this evening, we have here Mr. Rod Cullerton, who is running for the Senate in Australia, and a member of the Eastern Regional RSL, the Bassendean RSL, running for the seat of Hasluck, Ms. Dawn Kelly.
Good evening, everyone. Here we go. Good evening. My name is Dawn Kelly, and I'm proud to be a member of the Eastern Regional RSL here in Bassendean. It feels particularly meaningful to be standing here today in a place that holds such personal significance for me, to announce my candidacy for the Great Australian Party in the electorate of Hasluck, the 2025 election. I'm honoured to be joined by someone whose leadership and tenacity I greatly admire. Our party president and former Senator for Western Australia, Rodney Cullerton. It's a privilege to have his support and guidance, along with that of the great Australian Party's committed team. This RSL is close to my heart, and I come here often. So hence my rapport with David Beecham, who is actually a very good and close friend of mine. And anyway, that's another story for another time. And I come here not just out of respect, but a deep sense of connection and gratitude to the men and women who've served our country. Our veterans are the living spirits of the Anzac legacy, a reminder of the courage and sacrifice that built this nation. Their service has protected our freedoms, and today I stand here determined to protect those same freedoms, but in another way. While I haven't served in uniform, I believe standing for election is my way of serving. I stand up for our communities, our rights, and our principles that underpin a free and fair Australia. We're facing challenges not only from foreign troops, but from foreign corporate influence and embedded in government decision-making, slowly and quietly eroding the rights and sovereignty of everyday Australians. Now, right now, we have a government that does not represent us. It represents the interests far removed from the daily realities of working Australians. Laws are being written not for the people in mind, but with the profit margins of corporations at heart. That's not just a concern. This is a crisis of democracy. I love this country. I always have, and I always will. And it's out of love that I'm stepping forward to bring greater accountability, transparency, and a true voice of the people back into Parliament. Here's something many Australians aren't told enough. Under the Constitution, the real power that lies within you, the people, the Commonwealth of Australia, isn't just a legal term. It means all of us. Any change to our Constitution must be approved by referendum, by your vote. That is the foundation of democracy. You are not just voters, you are the Parliament. I'm waiting for applause here. And yet, I see more and more Australians feeling voiceless, left behind by a system that was meant to serve them. My mission is to change that. My own journey into politics began at a grassroots level as Vice President of the Kingsley and Greenwood Residents Association. That's where I saw firsthand how decisions are made behind closed doors, like the Labor's government's attempt to secretly sell off public land, public school land. And that experience lit a fire within me. And it reminded me that when communities come together and push back, we can win. Since then, I've continued serving my community as a volunteer, as a Justice of the Peace. Now, if you want to hear that story, that's for another time. And as someone who's worked to support individuals navigating our legal system. I run a community support group called Practical Lawful Ascension, helping people represent themselves in court, giving them tools and confidence to stand up for their rights. Because if we don't stand on our rights, we have none. We lose them. There are deeply concerning trends emerging, including mass surveillance through facial recognition technology and number plate tracking, and laws designed to silence dissent under the guise of misinformation. Now, these developments don't protect Australians, they control them. They take us down a path we don't want to follow. Now, we've seen consequences of unchecked power, both here and abroad. The rise of social credit systems, such as China, such as social credit systems, such as China, should be a warning to all of us. We must not allow our freedoms to be traded away one law at a time. This campaign isn't just about me, it's about all of us. It's about bringing the voices of everyday Australians, people who feel ignored, overlooked, and unheard, back into the heart of our democracy. Now, I'm standing here for Hasluck because I care deeply about our people and our future. I'm truly humbled by the friends and supporters and everyday Aussies who come forward to help along the way. Now, is Rod Cullerton here? Yeah, great. Now, it's my great pleasure to introduce a man who's led by example, someone who stood firm against powerful forces in defence of the people. As senator, he took on the banks, stood up for the farmers, and shone the light on the injustices happening right here in our own backyard. Please welcome the President of the Great Australian Party.
Under the circumstances, I'll take the tripod. Look, thank you, and these gatherings are very important, and it's a bit like a sitcom. It's good to be addressing a live audience with the network that the Great Australian Party has achieved, and it has well over certainly nearing 130,000 just on Facebook alone. But our views are getting into, over a period of time, hundreds of thousands, and that is definitely getting the message out very clear. Look, thank you for your acknowledgement of the work that I've done, but to be honest, you've paid me to do it. I'm a public servant when I'm elected as a senator. I serve the people, not only of Western Australia, but I serve the people of Australia. And I certainly am very humbled to be standing on a stage where my forefathers' legacies are very much upheld in this room. And that's what, to be honest, keeps me going. That's the turbo that I have in my chest that keeps me motivated. I would not waste my time if I didn't think we could all do this. The unfortunate part is, it's a bit like having a CEO in a company and you're not keeping an eye on him, and he tends to just drift off and drift off and drift off, or it's like a poor management of a crop. The crop's very weedy in Canberra. No one's been addressing the weeds every year, just everyone's been flogging the hell out of it and trying to get what they can. And what we've done is coming in and cleaning up the act. Australia is a basket case at the moment. It is operating outside the 3 tiers of government. I don't know if you've seen my documentary, but I put it together because I felt that it needed to be done, and I'm certainly not a person who just wants to talk the talk. As you know, I've done the walk and I've succeeded, and you've probably seen some banners in the front here. One was Axe the Axe, the Aboriginal Culture Heritage Act. If you saw the live stream, we turned Moody's office upside down. He tried to sue me. You know, that's the thing. That's why I've become very litigant. Become knowledge with litigation, because as soon as I try to do the right thing, someone's suing me. But I've never picked a fight. I'm always defending. The other one is, as you probably saw, I've now again for the third time been referred to the Australian Federal Police. Last time I went there, I took a packet of Tim Tams. This time I'm going to stop off at the cheesecake shop and get some nice cheesecake and perhaps a box of Lamingtons, because the Australian Federal Police know me very well now. They shake their head when I go in there. And but the important thing is to always remember this, and I'm doing a public statement. This is what I mean. I can do this public statement because the law is very clear in what I was able to learn while in federal parliament. Not many people get there. The Australian Electoral Commission is not the Commonwealth Electoral Commission, and either one are not the same. And it is a nonsense for the Australian Electoral Commission to refer a Section 44 matter to the Australian Federal Police. In actual fact, the Australian Federal Police should be the Commonwealth Federal Police, because you can't apply an Australian law to under a pretended Australian constitution. Australia doesn't have a constitution, but the Commonwealth of Australia has a constitution. So if you went to the United Kingdom and you wanted to file an application under the Australian constitution, they don't have jurisdiction, but if you put Commonwealth in front of it, they'll file it. So look, I'm on very safe ground. As you know, this last one that they referred has been going since 2022. It hasn't even reached a trial yet. In actual fact, it has largely been dismissed. They smacked me on the hand. They tried to not tell me to not make it public. And it's interesting, when you test the prosecutors, they have no prosecutorial powers to come in and prosecute under the Commonwealth. So where does that leave us? Well, we know, the genie's out of the bottle. We know the game, and that is very expressed in that documentary. And if you notice, that documentary is going viral. Where is the disinformation and misinformation bill to take that documentary down? Of course they can't, because it's the law making the claim. However, this is what we have to do to convince the people, because not everyone, a lot of people are very busy in their lives. You are about to lose your nation. That is absolute. There is no question about that. Australia's a great place to live. Everyone believes in this great nation, so why wouldn't other people want to be a part of it? So, but it is ours. Our Commonwealth of Australia Constitution Act is our founding deed. We must stop digital ID to remove property rights, and as you can see there, I shut down Landgate, and to the point where Landgate had to bring in 5 counsellors because the people at the front desk had been lying about the banks destroying their titles. And when we actually got to meet the registrar of titles, he had to open up the vault, because I basically said, if you don't release these titles, we'll all go down to the police and have you for permanently depriving for stealing, because they're not your titles. It's amazing. Once we put a bit of law to it, he opened up the vaults, and guess what? We got all our certificate of titles. Okay, so because that's substance. If you don't have that in your hand and you want to go to an electronic, anyone making a claim on your property, someone takes it off the system, what have you got? You can't prove it's your property. So look, I am very proud of my team. I have one of my key advisors here today, Neil Pitchinen. I certainly couldn't do it without he's the master, Darren Dixon, and my other fellows, certainly Darryl O'Brien Pete for what it's worth. They've been great mentors and great researchers on what we have to do to make me come out and be able to deliver the right message. So it's just not about me, it's about teamwork. And then what we have to do then is be able to get the right candidates to go and get the job done. And I want to make it very clear, you don't need a big team. It would be nice to be able to form government, to put a team on the field to be able to play the footy game. But we just need a couple of senators in the upper house with our knowledge. One backs the other motion and away we go. Because if you would have seen what I did in that video in the short time that I was in Parliament, we actually turned the place upside down, including the media. I'm going to put the evidence out there. As you can see, we were invited to Clive's 70th birthday party. He did want to buy the Great Australian Party, and the offer was very, very attractive, but I just couldn't accept a change and the risk of the 10 years that I've established, and certainly through my team, putting that into the hands of someone else, because I would certainly be letting down Australia, and money's not the key issue here. It's about getting our country back. So no disrespect to Clive, he did try very hard, and you know, I sat at his family table for his 70th birthday over in Brisbane just before Christmas, and to be honest, it could have been Great Australian Party out there, not Trump the Patriots, but I wouldn't do that to my fellow Australians. So it would have been nice with the electoral funding, of course. It's the last time that a single donor can actually come in and offer such money. But what was attractive to me, and why he rang me out of the blue, and it was just fortunate we had wet weather out Lake King and we stopped harvest, that I got on a plane and went to Brisbane to his private home, and we had a good chat, and he actually said, you know, I've been watching you, you're the only bloke that I know that could save this country. And I thought, well, that's nice, but as long as you're not patronising me. But he seemed genuine enough, but he's no fool. He's a very good businessman. I mean, to become a billionaire or multi-billionaire, you've got to be someone that's pretty cluey. However, I have to, no disrespect, when it comes to politics, I do believe the Great Australian Party is navigating the way, not only just for our party, but actually changing the way the mindset is of other party leaders. And I must say, on the way to this presentation tonight, I had two party leaders ring me that had seen my documentary, and they're absolutely blown away and said, we have to do something about this. I said, yep, that's it. So now we've got those higher level people starting to see what we're doing. And that's what I want to do. I want to educate you. I want to educate, because everyone's just taking it as a general acceptance or a truism that things are going along fine. No, we have an administration that is making a lot of money out of us, making us work harder, depriving us of our rights and privileges, and usurping the powers of our Commonwealth. And it's got to stop. We are the Commonwealth. Commonwealth is the wealth of the commoner, and Australia is ours, it's not theirs. And I even saw Rick Wilson break out in the sweat today at Lake King, at the crossroads of Lake King. Obviously very concerned about keeping his seat, because I've never seen so many cornflakes with Rick Wilson on it. And really we should go out there with give Rick the flick cornflakes and certainly get something done, because he's absolutely done nothing for rural Australia. You know, and I have to often stop with the farmers, because they all go and vote for Nationals and Liberals, and I said, well, haven't you known that they've all signed up to the net zero, they're going to get rid of you by 2050? They go, no, that won't happen. I said, well, go and read the legislation and have a look. Aren't you watching the news? So it's about education, it's about speaking the truth, and it's about waking up. And while I commend you all, for the people in the freedom movement and the people that have come here tonight, that you are accepting what we're saying and you are aware of what's happening. And it is the, you know, a great fire will start with a match in the grass, and that's where we're going. We're now taking it to another level, and with your support, obviously, we can do it. And we are getting support right around Australia. This is just not a small movement, this is becoming very big, and I do believe that the majors are really on the ropes at this election. Now let's go to the keep shipping sheep. Keep shipping sheep is the message that needs to be out there. Keep the sheep somehow got hijacked by the Nationals and the Liberal Party. The government's not getting rid of sheep. And the unfortunate part is if we lose this live sheep export in Western Australia, we don't have the domestic abattoirs to do the killing and the processing. I mean, the banks are shutting them down anyway, and any farmer that wants to put kill boxes out on his farm, the banks are not supporting that. So, in other words, they are not squeezing the farmer out. And considering that the Nationals and the Liberals have taken farmers into the net zero, signing up to the New World Order along with Twiggy Forrest, why would they be promoting kill boxes and abattoirs domestically when they're asking us to eat insects for protein meal in the future? That ain't going to be happening on my watch, as I explained in the documentary. I'm just doing this speech ad lib, and I hope I'm covering it all. So what we did then is I thought, stuff Murray Watts, because Murray Watts wouldn't know which end of a sheep ate grass. He doesn't realise that cow flatulence is very important for photosynthesis and for healthy plant growth, for better yields. He does not realise that you need sheep for management on farms, otherwise you will have destructive bushfires. You can't just have crop on crop on crop on crop. That is not what the land is designed for, especially the outcrops. Take it from a farmer that knows, I am one. And we need to keep shipping sheep. The government has no jurisdiction to step in and shut down a right which is under section 51(1) of the Constitution, commerce and trade. If those sheep are not labouring with an infectious disease, the government has no jurisdiction. So what we did is I wrote a quo warranto, and we served it on Murray Watts at 4 p.m. with Senator Harris and Bob Day, two other former federal senators, just to give it some weight. By Monday 9 o'clock, Murray Watts was removed as Agriculture Minister. Let's just see how all this works, okay? So let me give you a little bit of a scenario. So out comes the government, Murray Watts. Now Murray Watts went into Parliament. He used to be an advisor for Anna Bligh up in Queensland. She was the Premier there. He came in for Labor, and so what he does, this is how it works. So he goes out and he goes, we're shutting, well he did a deal, preference deal with the Animal Justice Party to get rid of live sheep. So that's the real reason why they wanted to kill the live sheep. But he can't shut it down because he can only regulate. A government can only regulate. It can't create a bill to place a prohibition to sever a right. That's the fact. So, but this is what these senators just don't do in Parliament. But anyway, so he calls on and says, well, we're shutting down the live sheep trade. He doesn't care. Shut down the live sheep trade. Well, that's just absolutely devastating for agriculture, for business, jobs. So what he does, he appoints a peak body. Now this peak body is unelected officials who have no idea of agriculture whatsoever. I think the new agriculture minister that comes in, I mean, you know, she wouldn't know how ryegrass grew on a piece of rock or what it, not that ryegrass does grow, it grows everywhere, it's a farmer's nightmare. But anyway, so out it comes, so the peak body, so then they call a big meeting at what they call the peak bodies, which is West Australian Farmers Federation, which is a clone of the National Party or the Liberal Party. You got Tony Seabrook, you got all these guys come out and all of a sudden they're the big mouthpieces. They start talking, they bring the ABC, so they start contracting with the body that holds no power to shut down their trade. So basically what they're doing is getting them to contract, because the Australian Labor Party, being out of jurisdiction, has no power to shut down anything under the real law, the Commonwealth law of this great nation. So then all of a sudden they're contracting. So they accept that the peak body has the power to shut down the trade. So it's the peak bodies through the mouthpieces and then the public notice by having the ABC there throws the farmers under the bus, okay? The farmers then start to say, well, not the farmers, the peak bodies say, well, we need 8 years to wind down the trade. So they're consenting to wind down the trade when their trade can never be wound down. But I tried to talk to keep the sheep leaders, and they don't want anything to do with me. In actual fact, I got told fuck off, and pardon the language, but I'm telling you, by Paul Brown, said, we don't want your sovereign shit up at this meeting. And I said, well, I said, it's not about that, it's about me coming as a farmer, but if you want to talk sovereign, that's what you'll be, because you're trying to claim sovereignty as a citizen in our Commonwealth Parliament. So the farmers will keep their live sheep industry. We will not be eating insects in the future. We do not want Bill Gates here. We do not want net zero. We do not want... In actual fact, we'll be encouraging more biofuels and certainly other, we have clean coal, and we're the biggest exporters of coal around, or second biggest exporters of coal around the world. I'm sure other countries are not just making ornaments out of burning it, so I'm not sure how our Australian government can accept that we have to meet net zero when we only, on average, contribute 1.1% to the emissions in this so-called net zero climate. Okay, so that's dealt with that. Keep the sheep. We kept the Aboriginal Culture Heritage Act because of indefeasibility of title. The lawyers down at the Katanning meeting were wanting the farmers to put in millions of dollars into a trust account. We blew it out for the farmers in about 5 minutes flat. I noticed they didn't want to pass the microphone to me, but in the end it fell into my hand, and we raised the indefeasibility. If they haven't registered a right on your title, they have no claim to it, bugger off, and we won that one. Just have to keep up with it. Okay, through the COVID pandemic, we kept businesses open. Windscreen territories were getting police officers inside his business, and I was getting them out over the phone. I don't know if you remember that, but I was live streaming that. He successfully went on, kept his business, kept it open, and his business went tenfold because the people of Northern Territory came in, classed him as a hero. So he benefited well out of that, and the political coach got a free Scotch tip right through it, so I was pretty happy about that. Then we go on to the borders. Well, as you know, we successfully got a lot of people home through the political limitation. When it was tested in court, obviously we got everyone home, came unscathed. A couple of them took a fine because they consented to. We said you shouldn't do that, but anyway, I'm not going to control them. They got home. The loved ones got home. A couple of ladies were going to commit suicide because they couldn't get home and they'd been couch surfing on pensioners' couches in nursing homes. And I waited at the border, the so-called border, the political limitation. And as you know, we played the best state of origin game, kicking a football over the quarantine centre, South Australia versus Western Australia, and the police didn't get a touch of the footy out there. You also saw me go up to them on my scooter, 6 pints down, and managed to escape a breathalyser test, basically I was in no condition to contract with a G2G pass. So we all came home unscathed, and I was very happy about that. And when it was tested in court, let me tell you this, it was tested in court that when we put the police on notice where the so-called border was, they all said it was at the stop sign under the quarantine centre. when it was tested in court, that was the border sign line. The so-called original border, which is the 129 meridian line, was 150 or 200 metres into Western Australia. So when it was tested in front of the magistrate, the West Australian Police were so-called arresting everyone in South Australia, and the magistrate screamed at me and said, "Mr. Cullerton, that's a legal question you're asking the police. They don't know where the border is. That's a legal question. The question is, did you come into Western Australia?" And yes, you did. I said, "No, Your Honour, I came through to the western side." Anyway, so we got through that unscathed. So there's another win. Now, there's a gentleman in the crowd that we've just taken him home to our farm, to his farm, and anyway, there is going to be a lot of other farmers go home to their farm, and I want to commend the police that they are starting to realise what their role is, and their role is not to involve themselves in civil matters. And what is clearly the case, in not only my case and many others, is that the land title system in Western Australia has been severely compromised through the failure of proper due process by major legal firms and banks. Now, this has certainly offended the Torrens system. The Torrens system is the apex for the accuracy and integrity, and the Register of Titles at Landgate in Western Australia has got a train coming into that station. He will be he'll have to be forced to correct the registry because there has been fraud on title. They have been applying the wrong instruments to monetary judgments, and the Torrens system says unless you apply and obtain these instruments, anything prior to that, like entering into a contract of sale or entering into a transfer, is void. It doesn't meet the test, and there are many farmers that will be going home to their property because it was the West Australian Police that prevented us from going onto our property. In retrospect, at the time, the West Australian Police were throwing off the original title, the legal owner of the land, and they had no right to come on there, and they are going to be done for trespassing. That is a fact. Paying attention. Well, guess what? They're going out now. They've got to see the title. They want to know who's on the title before they act, before they step on the property. They're now seeing that the original proprietor's on the title. Then they turn around and say, okay, is the judgment creditor, has he got a legal right to the property? Well, they'll look on there and see, no, they don't have a legal registered instrument. So the police are walking away. Then the lawyers are going, oh my God, what have we got to do now? So they're running back to court, and they're getting orders for contempt of the original orders. That's what should have been done at the start. So the police have been lied to, the police have been misled, the process servers from Baycorp, which we say are all dry blowers because we've got all their material, have no power under law to do what they do, and the whole thing has been fraud, and this train is coming in the station. Now, I'll get Callum to come up. I'm going to wind up now, but this is what I mean. I have to just keep doing things. I know it gets a bit controversial with me. I seem to get myself into a bit of a pickle, but each time we're coming out, because you've got to go in on the footy field, play the game inside the boundary line. You're going to get a cork in the thigh, you're going to get some mud, you're going to get your Guernsey, you're going to get a blood nose. That's what we have to do. We have to lead by example, so it gives you confidence. I don't want to be up here talking it, I want to walk it, and I'm walking it even to the back. Okay, if you get the documentary, share it nice and wide. Callum, I want you to come up and explain to the people exactly what happened. It was quite a bit hectic because he was confronted by police in Landgate's car park, and I'm just about, you know, having a mental breakdown. But we managed to get the improper dealings caveat. And the improper dealings caveat, just to give you a bit of history, Cullen said he'd been to a lot of politicians and they couldn't help him. He came to myself, and it was good timing because now I've just worked out the whole scheme that they've been doing. And it was perfect timing, and I said to him, do what I say, don't do what I do, because that tends to, you know, get me into a little bit of trouble. So he did what I asked him to do. He went and got a historical digital title. We should have the original title. Anyway, we went in and got the historical, and we went right through it. And then I said, righto, where's the instruments? Here, here, here. They didn't appear. I said, righto, now go straight in, put a improper dealings caveat. So that's where he got, when we're doing the improper dealings caveat, he got confronted with the police in the car park. And but anyway, we won't say what the police did, but he managed to put the footy over the line and score a try. And he came out successfully with an improper dealings caveat. And get this, so, you know, justice is sweet, because when you get an improper, the only way you can get an improper dealings caveat, and of course the politicians should all know this, is if you're the legal owner of the property. And Cullen had been badgered by the police. If you go back there, we're going to have you for trespass, we'll grab you, bloody lock you up, which is exactly what they've been doing to me. But now he goes and serves them the improper dealings caveat and smokes a cigar and says, there you go fellas, smoke that one. You can't have an improper dealings caveat. Alright, so let's get him up here and let's get the admission, and he's a proud property owner, and guess this, they won't be coming for him because now the bank's got dirty hands and the court of equity goes to the curb. So congratulations, Kelvin.
I don't have much, don't know what I'm going to say. I just feel like I'm in court, just off the cuff. As Rod said, it was the 11th hour I got my property back. So I dealt with this for a number of years. I managed to keep him at bay. I had 3 applications in the High Court. We know the judiciary system is corrupt, guys. It's from the magistrates court all the way through. Due process, as Rod bangs on about, it's not there in Australia. We're missing the vital rule of law in Australia. It's just not there. It's a protectionist measure throughout. They will protect their own. Like anyone else, like our ancestors have protected us, they protect each other, and they're scumbags. That's all I can say about them. They are scum. So, you know, Rod and I had a bit of a chat. We initiated a plan, and that plan was to go down to Landgate, put the caveat on, and guess who was waiting for me? The coppers. And they took my car. Well, that's not the first time they've taken my car. You know, so it was, you know, it was to slow down this process, lawful legal process. You know, the cops are embedded, or some of the higher ups are embedded with these guys too. You know, we are at war here, whether it be spiritual. It's not. No one's throwing lead at us, thanks God, because none of us want that. But we are at war, guys. We're at war in a spiritual manner and for our country. And if we don't stand up, we're going to lose it all. You know, the corruption is throughout everything. I mean, after Rod and myself were on the farm, I had a call from the High Court because previously I just filed a writ, a Commonwealth writ. Well, I got a message from them guys saying, you know, give us a call straight away, you know, it's urgent with your electronic filing, okay? So I've rang them 3 times now and they don't know what it's about. I do, but I'm not telling them. I've got the stamp on that writ saying leave to file, but I'll deal with that in time. Right? These guys are working for each other. They do not want us to succeed, so we have to keep pushing. Like our Anzacs kept pushing, we will keep pushing. And you know, I know I'm in the right place because I signed up. I've given my oath to the Crown. You know, British or whatever. You know, we're our Commonwealth, and that fatigue over there, the desert fatigue, has got Reynolds on it. So I know I'm in the right place, guys. You know, I don't know what else to say.
All right. How we're succeeding is we're applying the law at the legislature level. The legislature level is separation of powers. It's the law that grants us rights, and we all know that our land is protected by the Crown, and although they're running outside the true Crown, we must apply the real law, and that's what we're doing. And Callum is the beneficiary of being able to return home to his property. And mark my words, as sure as I'm standing here with 2 sets of sticks and a broken leg, many more farmers and private property owners will be returning home to their rightful homes. God bless, and vote for us.